Hello, everyone. This is Tiffany Bryant-Jackson, Education Manager of Three Bone Theater. And today I have our two actors with us for The Chinese Lady. I have Stephen and Amy. And we're just going to talk a little bit about the show themselves and get some of their input. Reminder to everyone, if you do not have your tickets, go ahead and get it now. The show opens on the 28th of July, and you have until the second weekend of August to catch it. And you know, when you're late to buying tickets, you always run the chance of not getting in. We had this on the last show, so do not do this on this show. Welcome, Amy and Stephen. How are you?
Hi, thank you. How are you?
Great. I just want to dig in and ask you both, plays come along and they are not all light and fun, and they have stories that need to be told. And this is one of those shows that has a story that really needs to be told because we don't know a lot of things about other people and other cultures. We walk around in our own bubbles all the time. And so I'm excited for this show to be told, but I'm curious what drew each of you to this particular project.
Amy, you want to start?
You want me to start, don't you?
Yeah, sure. You're the star here.
Well, I had not done theater in a long time. I don't know, maybe anyway. Robin sent me the script, and she had sent me a couple scripts in the past. But I was intrigued by, Afong in general. So little is known about her. But as I was like getting towards the end of the script, there's a lot of parallels, I guess, personally in my life, with her being the first Chinese woman, the first this, the first that. As far as me and my family, Stephen's already heard this, but I was the first person in my family to be born in the United States, the first to go to college, the first to do this. So there's a lot of responsibility on me as the oldest child. At the very end, Afong says, "I hope that you see this story as like some part of it as your own." And when I read that line, I actually cried at home, and I said, I just have to do it, even though I wasn't sure I was ready for such a challenge. But I think it just sang to me that way. And it's also something growing up in white America where you're kind of pressured to ignore your culture. I think this has brought me to a better place as far as coming, I don't know, just
maybe reconnecting,
viewing my heritage. But I don't know to put it into words, but to appreciate my heritage a little bit more, I guess.
I love that.
Yeah.
You, Stephen.
A lot of this, well, I guess not a lot of the same, but kind of off of the last thing that Amy has said, very similar in that respect as well. I am half Asian, my dad being white, my mom being from Taiwan. So I was not raised with a lot of my mother's culture in my family. I was raised very white. I was raised very American. And so to have the opportunity to dive into a play where I get to explore this character who is very Asian, the most Asian character I've ever played. I've been rejected by both of my cultures. I've been not accepted by white people. I've been not accepted by Asian people. So to get to dive into this particular character of a tongue and working through a tongue through Afong has taught me a lot about the history behind my people and a lot of the things that I've heard of in the periphery of history, but never really dove into and never really took the time to understand what that meant to me in my journey of life as an Asian American.
So it sounds like the piece is giving you both the opportunity to dig a little deeper and reconnect with a culture. Amy, for you, because you're coming over as first gen, essentially. And then Stephen straddling the line of two cultures, but not really feeling at home at one. So you're having a chance through the script to really dig in and reconnect. And I, love that. I love hearing people's history, hearing their stories, why they are where they are. Probably why I'm the education manager. It's all the history makes me so happy. But I I know you know as much as I know from a Black perspective, representation is sometimes lacking in cultures that are not white. On screen, on stage, we sometimes do not get to see ourselves. And when we do get to see ourselves, it's not always our history, it's a caricature of stereotypes that make up who we are. And in this story, we're learning about a real person with a real history, whose life is not easy. No one's is, but really not easy. And so I'd love to hear how you think that is important, because the more these stories kind of get out, the more people are informed, but they've got to get out first. So I'd love to hear each of you take on the importance of representation and being seen and getting works like this out to audiences.
You can go first, Stephen.
Oh, okay. I'll take this one first. That's fair.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a representation, I think that we've obviously seen, like, especially in like the last, just 5 years, even, how much representation really does matter in America. And, it's interesting as a child growing up in America and watching I love American films. I mean, most of my acting has been on screen and not the stage. That's where I've in the past felt more comfortable. And I think that a lot of the media that's been fed to us over the years, has something to do with that. And having the limitation too of the roles that I've been able to play on screen, I feel like the theater opens that up a little bit. I've had a wider range of roles that I've been able to play on the stage. But having those people that I looked up to that looked like me, that was a very difficult thing as a kid, not having a lot of that and not really knowing where I fit in as an actor anywhere, feeling as though most roles were not written for me. Most things that I would want to aspire to, those roads were not quite yet paved. I still don't feel like those. I feel like we're slowly paving those roads. But yeah, there's still a lot of work I think that needs to be done. And the more that we are able to see just all the different people who make up this country, it's not just a white country. And the more we see that, the more we all feel like we belong here and we feel like this is part of us. And it doesn't matter if I am not all white and I'm not all Asian, that my voice still matters, my existence still matters, and me as a person being here in this country I'm still relevant. A tongue is not, but Stephen is. So it's really important, I think, that we're all out here doing this type of work to bring these stories out and to bring these characters out and to show people like there's space for all of us in the arts, where we can all work in here together, as one.
Yes, I agree. All stories need to be told. Everyone needs to see themselves, and there is enough room, no matter what anyone tells you. If Hollywood tells you or theater doesn't, there's enough room for everyone's story to be told.
Absolutely.
And to hear your take on the importance of representation and getting shows like this out in front of audiences.
Well, as you mentioned, growing up, I was always like intrigued with TV and film and stage and dance and all that stuff. And the very first time I saw, I can't remember the movie. It was a Chinese dub movie, but the first time I saw someone that looked like me on screen, the feeling that I had was so strange. It was almost like I had like a white person's feeling, like, oh, that's weird. They're not white on screen or something. I think stories like this are so important just because I'm so bad with words. This is why Stephen needs to do this kind of stuff.
You're not bad with words. We want your perspective. These are your words.
Yeah. I think it's important. History is important. We tend to whitewash things.
Mm-hmm.
the first time, actually, so recently I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Everywhere. Mhm.
I was kind of late to the game, but seeing that story like just mirrored like my relationship with my mother and how I think people don't quite understand the dynamic of like an Asian kid growing up in like America. You know, people just assume, oh, you get good grades, you do this and you do that, and you toe the line. But I'm off topic. What was the question?
The importance of representation. I think you're
Yeah.
there. You're not
Yeah.
too off. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
I will try
Yeah.
and wrap up
Direct
what
me,
I think
Tiffany.
you're trying to say. I
yeah,
think you're trying to say that getting to see things like that. If no one has watched that movie, go watch it.
Yeah.
It won what it needed to win on purpose.
It's amazing.
It was fantastic, but part of the history and learning these things is so that you're not shocked by seeing someone who looks like
Yes.
you on screen.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
And that it is wonderful to see representation of what some aspects of your life are, because other people aren't always going to get that, which I think is key in what we are aiming to build. You know, theater is storytelling. Theater is a catalyst to change, even when people don't think they're being changed, right? You're going to come in, you're going to learn something, and it's going to be something you didn't know, and you're going to tell someone else about that thing, and it keeps going. And you know, you snuck up a lesson by putting on a show without telling people, hey, I'm about to teach you some history. Or I'm going to teach you something. Our last show had a lot to do with the Crown Act and Black women's hair. And, you know, I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to teach you some things. But before you leave the show, you're going to understand what was happening in a lot of people's lives. And so I think this is the key with this one. Now, we want our audiences to get there, and we want them to leave with something in this case too. So if it were up to you, and you had a friend or family member or someone you don't know come to see this show, what is one thing you want them to take away when they leave the theater? I know, no pressure. No pressure.
You go ahead, Stephen.
I mean, I think for me, I want to say I want people to see me, but it's beyond me, right? It's
both. It can be a both and, I think.
Yeah, it's the fact that and when I say me, I mean it's like it's us, it's the show, it's it to see that that this was a real woman, that she existed, and through the history of her and everything that we have experienced up to this point has brought Amy and I to where we are, you know. And I just hope that people can see other people and just really try to see other people, and not just as a stereotype of a person, but judge each person individually based on their story, based on their life, based on their experiences. And we can't know everybody's experiences, but what we can do is allow for the grace for everyone to exist, and for all of our pasts and everything that have brought us to where we are at this point, for all that to be in some way cherished as the things that you've had to overcome up to this point, you know. And I'm rambling now. I'm going to answer for Amy. I'm going to take up all your time.
I think Amy's like, yes, please. But we want to hear.
Yeah, I think it really is. I hope that people come out of this and with just a bit more of an open mind, and the ability to really try to start seeing people for who they are, and seeing people for the struggles that they've had, and understanding that not everybody's life is as picture perfect as your life may have been, or, you know, everyone has their struggles, and everyone we are all individuals, and we've gotten to where we are. We've fought to this point, you know, we have survived to this point, and that's what we have all through all of our lives. Everyone on this earth right now has fought and survived to this point. And I think that we should all like give ourselves a little round of applause for that, and a little grace for, you know, the things that life has taught us, and the way that we behave now because of that. And hopefully we all continue to grow and learn.
Love it.
I think obviously I want audiences to take away the historical component to it, of course, but and everything that Stephen said is what I say too, but also on a personal, like local level, you know, Charlotte doesn't do stories featuring Asian characters or Asian actors or Asian stories. I believe this is probably the first one in over 20 years.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
want Charlotte to know that a production like this can be done. It can be done well. We have the talent here.
Mhm.
We have the capability to do it. And I was told by a casting director once, you know, I don't know how to cast you. I don't know where to put you because you don't fit any sort of thing. And I'm like, why do I have to fit any sort of thing? I mean, I just hope Charlotte is open to hearing this story and is eager to learn more from it, like in the
Mhm.
future, and maybe inquire about other important people in Asian American history. So that's my 2 cents.
A great 2 cents. I do think you are onto something locally. As soon as you said it, I start scanning my brain. And you're absolutely right. We as a community, with less theaters, but still plenty of people to take on the parts, could do better at some representation across the boards. So I think that's key. And remembering that an audience doesn't have to look like the story, right, to learn from it. There's this TikTok that goes around, and there are people going, look at these books where the character doesn't look like me, and still I was interested. It's the same thing. We can take in content and take in entertainment that looks different from us and go, that was really good. And if they're like me, they're going to go dig and find some more history, because it is all, I think, Amy, you alluded to whitewashing. We do that with our history, but Afong's history is American history, right? It is a part of the American fabric. It is been quieted and erased and hidden, and it takes someone to sit down and bring it forward. But there's a lot of that's out there, and there's just a lot of good things that can come when everybody gets a time to shine and act and be. And to Amy's point, no one has to fit into a mold. It's not 1932. We do not all have to look a certain way. There are lots of characters that do not have to be white in history. And I'm going to put my 2 cents in. The canon, we should reevaluate what's canon in theater these days. That's all I have. That's the biggest questions I have for you. I told you I'd make it less painful. To anyone watching the YouTube today, remember, show opens July 28th. Go ahead and get your tickets in advance. Also note, on the 28th, we will announce our new season. So if you're dying to know what's coming up next year for the Three Bone world, we'll let that out that night, and it'll be on socials the next day. So you'll be in the know first. Thank you both, Stephen and Amy, for hanging out with me a little bit today, getting an audience a little pre-peek into who you are and how you approach this role and what they can look forward to leaving the theater with. Bye, everyone. See you next time.